Hello everyone, James from Junkyard Fox. Thank you so much for joining us. We have been out here in beautiful Arizona these last few days and we're doing some primitive camping. Now, you guys know I'm not normally a primitive camper. That is my buddy Shane's area of expertise. Now Shane here, once again, being a little bit more primitive, he's not doing the normally carrying around tents and that kind of stuff. So what he's shown me is something really cool called a blanket pack, and it just shows you how to be a little bit more efficient with the limited amount of gear that you're carrying. So thank you for joining us, Shane.
Let's get started. Alright, so we're going to be making a blanket pack. Before we start making the pack, I'm going to just go ahead and show you some of the gear that is going to be included inside of it. So, starting off, this is going to be my food pack. Your food pack is going to be the heaviest part of your blanket pack, unless you're doing this in winter, in which case you'll want a heavy sleeping bag. I've got a cotton shemagh. We're going to use this for the straps of the pack later on. I have an Anker solar panel. We've been using this over the weekend to just keep the phones charged for the videos. I have a 10 foot by 10 foot sil nylon tarp. We didn't have to use it, but I brought it just in case. Then there's the sleeping bag itself. It's a marmot bag rated to about 40 degrees. And we have a wool blanket. And then under the blanket is a ripstop poncho. So now that we have all of this, I'm going to mention I do also have a haversack that I carry with this to carry smaller things that I might need more quick access to, because I'm not about to pull apart the whole pack to get out my saw. Alright, so now that we've laid out the gear that's going to be inside the pack, we're going to go ahead and start putting it together. So to start, I have my sleeping bag opened up here, and we're just going to be putting everything inside the foot of the bag. I'm going to start with the solar panel because it's a harder object. I'm just going to put that all the way down and turn it sideways. Now I'm going to put in the food pack. The tarp, and I'll save the shemagh later, and we'll be using paracord to tie the whole pack together when we're closer to the end. So now I'm just going to zip up the sleeping bag. And now with the foot of the bag and everything stuffed inside it, I'm going to start rolling everything together nice and tight. So I'm going to start by pushing against it, and that's going to help get out any extra air or just compress everything together. And now that it's tight, I'm going to fold it over itself. I'm going to push on it again. I'm just going to keep doing this until I get to the hood of the bag. You don't have to carry a sleeping bag with a blanket pack. If it's going to be a little cooler at night, it's a good idea to have it so you don't freeze. But there are alternatives. And if you don't have a sleeping bag, you can tie everything up into a shemagh, or you can stick everything into a pillowcase if you do want a container to keep it together, or a compression sack, whatever you want. So now I'm getting to the hood of the bag. So I'm going to roll it one more time, and now this is pretty much going to be the size of the pack. So I'm going to move this to the middle and have this lengthwise with the blanket. And I'm going to fold the blanket over the top. And you're going to get sand and dirt and leaves and grass in the pack. It's part of it. Can't really avoid that very much. So I'm going to be pushing that nice and tight and folding it over. I'm going to try to even out the sides of the blanket as I'm doing this. Try to keep it about the same width as the pack. And push it tight and fold it. Now we're getting to the end, so I'm going to fold the rest of the blanket over the top. Now I'm going to fold these outside pieces in and over. I'm going to make that tight and roll it. So you'll notice that this is on top of a tarp. The tarp is basically just to keep everything from getting dirtier than it has to, because it is a wool blanket. It does have a lot of fibers, and when the sand gets into the fibers, it can damage it, and it's generally uncomfortable at night. So now I'm going to do pretty much the same thing with the tarp. I'm going to be folding it over the opposite way, so I'm starting with the sides now instead of with the end. And there's a whole lot of ways to make blanket packs. This is just the way that I prefer. There are a whole lot of other videos out there, so if you think something's weird about this one, just watch another one and you'll learn what you like, practice it, and eventually you'll be good at doing one way or another. So I'm rolling that down. I'm going to just pull this up a little bit against it. I don't have a lot of extra, so I'm not going to be folding it all the way over. And now I'm going to take that side and bring it over. And because it is a Silnai poncho, it does like to trap the air. So if you really want to, you can press down on it and get all the air out. It's pretty compact right now, so that's not really an issue. I'm going to fold it one more time. Alright, so this is pretty much it for the main pack. Now for the next step, we're just going to go ahead and tie it all together. Alright, so now that we've got our pack nice and compressed, we're going to start with our knot work. The first knot that we're going to do is called a fixed loop. It looks like this. It's very, very simple. So we're going to take a length of cord, and when you're on the end of the cord, you want to give yourself a couple extra inches for your tail. We're going to have that folded over on itself, so you have tail on this side and the rest of it over here. Going to wrap it around your finger, then pull your finger out of the rope. Now you have two loops. So you're going to pull your original loop through and pull that tight. Now you've got your fixed loop. So I'm going to untie this because I already have one on the end of my cord. So we have our fixed loop. We're going to pull it under the blanket pack. And we're going to feed the rest of the cord through it. Now that we've got that through, we're just going to cinch it down. Now that's good and tight. You want to be able to just barely get your finger under it. So that's good. Now we're going to make a trucker's hitch. This one's kind of confusing, so pay attention. Alright, so now we're going to make our trucker's hitch. So we've got the cord from the fixed loop pulled pretty tight over here. So we're going to pull our cord under that, then make another loop on the outside and bring it in the original loop and tighten that down. Then we're going to take the tail end of the cord, we're just going to twist it over itself, bring it over that loop and tighten it in. Now we've got our trucker's hitch. So now that we have this, we're going to be making ribs for the pack. And what I mean by ribs is this part coming around is a rib. This is our structural support. We'll be making a spine later. So I'm just going to bring it under the pack and bring it through that lower part. And cinch that to be nice and tight. So if you can slip your finger under it easily, then it's not tight enough. So now we're just going to keep doing the same thing. All right, so we've got our 3 ribs, and that's about all that this size of and shape of pack is going to be able to take. So now we're going to be going under, right down the middle. So I'm going to flip it over so we can see this. We're going to go under, and we're going to make the spine, which is going to be going over and around these ribs. So I'm just going to be bringing my tail end of the cord through. And when your cord's tangled up like this, it can be kind of annoying. But once you have it all through, you're going to pull it tight. And you're going to wrap around your rib one more time. Pull it all back through. And now it's pulling down tight on the front and on the sides. So we're going to do that for the other 2 ribs on our back here. Now that we've got these all through here, pulling everything tight, we're going to go ahead and flip the bag again. And now we're going to go through our trucker's hitch. Now you're cinching the whole bag nice and tight. We're going to flip it over one more time. And we're going to be adding on to our spine. So it's going to be the same thing, we're just going to be mirroring. You can pull this nice and close to the other cord, keep everything nice and neat and tidy. Alright, so now we've got this all nice and tight. These cords are pretty tight as well. They don't need to be quite as tight as the ribs. And we're going to flip the pack. And we're going to make one more trucker's hitch down here. So I'm going to be passing my cord through this rib. Then I'm going to be bringing another loop of cord through there. I'm going to be tightening that down. I'm going to be looping the cord and tightening it against it. Now we've got a trucker's hitch. And now there's a lot of ways that we can use up the rest of this cord. I'm just going to basically hank it up around my hand. And now I'm just going to tie it around itself. And you don't have to use any special fancy knots here. I'm just going to tuck the tail through that loop. I'm going to tuck this under the ribs. So now that is primarily going to be the body of our blanket pack. Now all that's left to do is give it some straps, so it's an actual pack and not just a big lump of things folded together. Alright, so we've got our shemagh here, just a large piece of cotton, something like 3 foot by 3 foot. So I'm going to take the shemagh and fold it one time into a diamond. Then I'm just going to basically roll this up. Now it's basically just a long tube of fabric. So now I'm going to decide which is going to be the top and which is going to be the bottom of my blanket pack. And since this one's pretty uniform, it doesn't really make a difference. So I'll call this my top and this my bottom. So now, and this is the easiest part of making the blanket pack, you're just going to be passing the tails of the shemagh through the ribs, the top rib and the bottom rib. And you're going to want to pull this down, and it's okay to have a knob on top still. It's actually preferable for carrying your canteens, and I'll show that in a minute. So now we've got our tail end of the shemagh, and it's about equally long on both sides. You can even it out if you want to. It doesn't make a huge difference if it's not perfectly even. So as for the length of your strap, you want it to be about elbow high from your elbow to top of your wrist. We're going to take the tail and stick it through here and just again measure that out, pull it down a little bit. So this is going to be the length of our strap. We're just going to tie a simple knot down here. So now we've got one side, and we're just going to do the same thing for the other. Now that I've got the one side, I can just measure them out together. So that's about going to be right. Just going to tie this side up. Nice and tight. So now our blanket pack is together. Now we have this knob on top, and I mentioned that could be useful later on. So that knob is going to be to carry my canteens. You can carry your canteens together, tied on a piece of cord. They can be Nalgene canteens, stainless steel bottles, whatever you want. These are just cheap canteens I bought off Amazon. So these are just simply going to sit on either side of that knob at the top of the shemagh. So now this part looks kind of funny, but I'm going to be putting the pack on. And to do that, I'm going to be sitting it behind me. I'm going to be laying down on it. All right, so now I've got the pack on. Canteens are going to hang off to either side. And then if you make this pack a little bit larger, you can use a secondary shemagh and make a waist belt, just passing it through the spine, tied around the front. So this is a pretty comfortable, easy and cheap way to carry your kit if you want to go for minimalist style bushcrafting trips, hiking, pretty much whatever you want to do.
All right, folks, so that's about the conclusion of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did, and I've been practicing this. I still need more practice because I have trouble with knots, but Shane was very kind enough to send us tutorials to do this, and we managed to practice him, Cuervo and I, and now we are out here camping with him. So thank you so much for helping us out. That was really awesome.
Yeah, no problem. Glad I could help.
And that's really cool. Check out this little hack he did with his little stainless canteen cup. So that's really awesome. Alright guys, once again, so this is the conclusion of this video. If you liked it, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. If you still have any questions, any comments, anything like that, go ahead and post below, and we'll go ahead and answer them, Shane and I. And thank you so much for watching. It means the world to me. Once again, we're out here camping. I'm already rambling, as always. So thank you guys. We'll see you guys next week with another video. And go outside and get your boots dirty.